Hello and welcome to round 5 of the PowerMaxed mini challenge from the summer race day here at Combe. It may be summer, but the weather is extremely changeable and it resulted in particularly difficult conditions for qualifying earlier. Let's see how they got on.
Just kept pumping the laps in and yeah, really great qualifying.
Managed to scrape a decent lap together at the end and got back up to third.
I've learned in the track each lap. We're taking time, so we're getting there now, very slowly.
I don't do fantastic in the wet normally, but I was pleased with what I did there. You know, came back in with a big smile.
I didn't do too bad, but I could have done better, I think.
We made some big changes on the car, so I'm happy, confident for the race.
I came up to, I think it was Camp corner, and over-braked a little bit. I kind of beginning to think I was in the dry, and I managed to get on the grass, realised I was in trouble, and just kept my foot hard down to try and get grip on rear wheels. So as I kept my foot planted, I couldn't really turn in onto the track because the rear would come round and hit the wall. So I had to just hope for the best. And at the last second, I was convinced I was going to hit the corner there as you came onto the track, but I went past it and I must have brushed it. Tried to keep my foot down, the car just spun. But it was a close call.
I used to love the wet when it was rear-wheel drive, but in front-wheel drive, it's a nightmare.
Well, the teams were left guessing right up until the cars were in the assembly area at the start of the first race about what the weather would do, would it be wet or dry. In the end, the smart money was the compromise. Slicks on the front, wets on the rear, sets up for a very interesting race.
Well, things have definitely dried up on the track here for the first of the double-header in Wiltshire. Although the track is still a little bit damp, it's definitely going to have affected the choice of tyres. Luke Caudle's got his mini mojo back. He is just behind Chris Knox, who finds himself on pole for the JCWs. Let's get the full grid from Ben.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, it's hardly news that the PowerMaxed Mini Challenge has a huge field and it's headed by Chris Knox. He shares the front row with Luke Caudle. That's Lawrence Davey and Neil Newstead on row 2. Henry Dupree and Kevin O'Connor, not deterred by that moment in qualifying, lines up 6th. Shane Stoney heads the Cooper class field from Josh Gollin, Gideon Cresswell and William Phillips. It's a good qualifying though for the lady drivers. Grace Williams well up, as is Joe Polly Goldin. They'll both be looking for a good result. It's Mark Wakefield who completes the pack. So we get ready for the start then here at Combe. Away we go, and it's the 888 car of Chris Knox that eases away from pole position as they sprint towards Folly for the first time. As you can see, this section of the circuit is substantively dry. The Cooper's very close, but it's Shane Stoney who's got the jump from Josh Gollin. Gideon Cresswell going side by side with William Phillips as they climb up over Avon Rise into Quarry. It's Knox who turns through. The right-hander Henry Dupree easing up into 3rd position, as the Coopers almost side by side between Stoney and Gollin. William Phillips in pursuit, and a spin there from Alan Taylor. Gideon Cresswell almost rotates in avoidance, but they all seem to have got through cleanly. No contact, no harm done. Good scrap going on for 4th. It's the green and black car, Neil Newstead, heading the bright blue car, Lawrence Davey. Then Hamish Brandon next long. Good to see Kevin O'Connor going strongly as well. Kevin looking to make that move through Hammer down into the braking zone for Tower. Lawrence Davey also trying to find some space to the inside. Neil Newstead, which he does. Brilliant move that from Lawrence Davey. And Kevin O'Connor had a great view of it. Then on to Bobby's. Newstead busy defending from O'Connor, with Hamish Brandon just sitting and watching next long as O'Connor looks to draw alongside Neil Newstead as they accelerate along the Dean Straight on towards Camp. Out front though, it is Knox and Caudle who are breaking clear from the field, and they really have put a little daylight between themselves and Henry Dupree in 3rd position. Challenge for Caudle though, after that disappointing outing at Alton Park, is firstly, can he get the car to the checkered flag with no dramas, get back on the podium, but more importantly, can he usurp this man, Chris Knox, and return to winning ways? It's been a brilliant start to the season in terms of the dicing between them. What about Shane Stoney and Josh Gollin? Lights ablaze, the Cooper class front runner Shane Stoney. He's really being pursued here by Josh Gollin. The beauty of the Castle Combe circuit is that you can slipstream very effectively, and therefore Josh Gollin for the moment letting Shane Stoney do the hard work. Stoney those seesaws at the wheel through Quarry. And you can see on this section of the circuit there's still a narrow dry line. It's still a little bit damp. If you move away from it through the S's then. These chicanes added to the Castle Combe circuit in time for the 2000 season. I mentioned the challenge before they then have the very quick sprint on towards the imposing Tower corner. Meanwhile, Gideon Cresswell looking to make progress from his earlier spin. He is in pursuit of Adrian Norman. Knox and Caudle get in and amongst the traffic now. It's Mark Wakefield whom they catch first. Now this could give the opening for Caudle to maybe close up onto Chris Knox. Both drivers very well versed in the art of scything through the traffic. Knox then past Max Lever. Great to see Max back in the PowerMaxed mini challenge. And then on to challenge Adrian Norman. But you can see here with the chicanes and the corners coming thick and fast that Knox can make that move on Norman before they arrived into the S's. Caudle couldn't do it until the exit. Great scrap here between Max Lever. He's got Chris Stoney just in behind him. And then also Mark Wakefield, the three Cooper class runners separated by 3 car lengths, as this is the fight for third place in the JCW class. The black and white car of Henry Dupree, bright blue machine Lawrence Davey. Now Knox and Caudle up onto the battle at the very head of the Cooper class, and Shane Stoney in turn doesn't want to be delayed here too much by Luke Caudle scything through, because Josh Gollin is not that far back. Grace Williams is the next target for Shane Stoney, who gets pushed down a little bit wide on the exit of the S's. He keeps his foot in as they arrive into Old Paddock. That you can see Josh Gollin, the red car, the checkered flag roof, is giving him the opportunity to really close in as we move towards the latter stage of the race. In car with Gollin, darts the inside at Tower. Has time to say thank you on the exit. For the rest of us to have that driving talent, as then Josh Gollin sets about bouncing on 3 wheels in pursuit of Shane Stoney as they accelerate on towards camp. And you can see how that gap has come down. Meanwhile, Knox and Caudle still separated by just a couple of seconds. All about the fight for the Cooper class lead. Max Lever is their next target, and Max, you can see there, he's consulting his rearview mirror. He knows exactly where Shane Stoney and Josh Gollin are, and makes sure he stays well out of the way through fully. He doesn't want to intrude on this fight for the lead in the Cooper class. Over rise into Quarry, and Josh Gollin almost flicks the car sideways in pursuit of Shane Stoney. You've got to be wondering as well, those of them that started with wets on the rear, they're going to be feeling a little bit worn out by now, because it's not rained during the race. Right, next challenge then for Shane Stoney is Adrian Norman. And again, really nice driving there from Adrian. Doesn't interrupt this battle at all for leading the Cooper class, which, if you're a fan of Shane Stoney, is very good news. If you're a fan of Josh Gollin, you could have done with maybe a tenth of a second or so's delay. So Chris Knox and Luke Caudle surge through camp, getting into the latter stages of the race here. We go past the PowerMaxed car of Joe Polly Goldin. Luke Caudle's going to have to rely here on misfortune, I think, for Chris Knox. Meanwhile, Shane Stoney and Josh Gollin look to battle. They've got third place man Lawrence Davey, though, closing up onto their tail. Let's hope that doesn't interrupt the battle too much, as Gollin now really looks to challenge over a rise into Quarry. Gollin looks every which way, but Shane Stoney does exactly what he needs to do, which is stick to the racing line. And if he does that, it makes it very difficult for Gollin to find a way through. They've got the faster JCW class car, Lawrence Davey, who darts the inside. Shane Stoney, though, having absolutely none of it into the S's. Josh Gollin tried to do an Eddie Irvine on Ayrton Senna at Suzuka in '93 and unlap himself. Now Lawrence Davey gets his right foot planted, powers past Gollin once more, and finally eases clear of Shane Stoney. Meanwhile, the checker flag is poised and ready, and it's victory for Chris Knox. Yet another triumph in what has proved to be, thus far, a fantastic 2014 season. Second place goes the way of Luke Caudle. But what about the Cooper class? They have got Neil Newstead and Hamish Brandon also joining in, trying to put the lap onto them as they surge into Camp Corner for the final time. Third place in the JCW class goes the way of Lawrence Davey, and Cooper class spoils do get claimed by Shane Stoney just from Josh Gollin. 0.4 of a second between the pair of them at the line. Let's have a look then at the top 6 in each class. In the JCW class, Chris Knox victorious from Luke Caudle and Lawrence Davey. and Neil Newstead, Hamish Brandon and Henry Dupree. In the Cooper class, Shane Stoney victorious from Josh Gollin, William Phillips on the podium in third, clear of Ricky Page, Matt Hammond and Gideon Cresswell.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Most fun I've ever had in a front-wheel drive car. We made the right call on the slick front, wet rears, and hopefully thankfully they lasted until the end.
Yeah, it was a strange race. Really quick at the beginning. Made a massive mistake on about lap 4. Lost Chris a little bit, but pushed hard and just didn't have enough to get it back.
It was going really well for the first half, but it just got caught the traffic wrong and got squeezed onto the grass, and he was right up my bumper again.
Quite close at the flag. Disappointed to finish second again, but it's still on the podium. Good result, and I'm up there pushing him.
Some very happy drivers after that, and a much better result for Luke Caudle. We still have another race to come here at Castle Combe with changeable weather, as Shane said, and also a reverse of the top 8. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to part 2 of the PowerMaxed mini challenge from Castle Combe. Now, race 1 was very much about tyre choice, and this season the drivers have been given much more flexibility about the setup.
So for this year we've changed the regulations to allow drivers to run the slick tyre on the front of the car and the wet tyre on the rear of the car when it's changeable conditions.
What I want to know is why? What's the benefit in doing that?
Well, really it comes down to the fact that if in changeable conditions you run wet tyres all round, what tends to happen is that the front tyres become worn out, the rubber starts falling off them because they overheat, and that makes the car very difficult to drive in the latter stages of the race, and also ends up costing the drivers money because they've just blown a set of tyres. The flip side is if they went for slicks all round in those changeable conditions, then the car can be very difficult to drive, can end up being a bit of a tendency for people to have accidents. So this gives the best of both worlds. It puts the slick tyre on the front, which has the capability of handling higher temperatures, being really hard worked by the front wheel drive cars, and allowing the wet tyre on the rear to heat up quickly on the rear to generate some grip, but without having to suffer the pressure that comes from being on the front of the car.
From looking at the cars here in the assembly area, the popular choice seems to be for slicks all round. However, judging by that very black cloud up there, I'm not so sure. Race number 2 is a reverse of the top 8 in both classes, which sees Patrick Mortimer and Chris Stoney on pole. Let's go over to Ben for the full grid.
Well, under a sky that looks like a Sisters of Mercy album cover, Patrick the Rainmeister Mortimer will be hoping that it rains. He lines up from pole alongside Keith Issat. Then row 2, it's Henry Dupree and Hamish Brandon from Neil Newstead and Lawrence Davey. Caudle and Knox, a lot to do. In the Cooper class, Chris Stoney takes pole alongside Mark Wakefield. Then it's Matt Hammond, Ricky Page, Gideon Cresswell and William Phillips. Shane Stoney, of course, in 8th. Rolling start for this second race of the day, and it's Patrick Mortimer who paces the field through Camp Corner. Away we go, and Mortimer plants his right foot as the field almost 3 wide into Folly for the first time. So they jostle for position, same in the Cooper class. There is Shane Stoney. He's going to wait to see how Quarry unfolds for the first time of asking, as the JCW car's already up over Avon Rise. It's Lawrence Davey who takes the early advantage from Hamish Brandon. Mortimer holds on in third as problems in the Cooper class. Josh Gollin and Mark Wakefield ever coming together into the tyre wall for Josh Gollin. William Phillips also appeared to be caught up in that. There is Phillips recovering. Oh dear, Mark Wakefield will be underway, but Chris Stoney is out of the car, out of the race. Josh Gollin has got a front right wheel pointing the wrong direction. So the GCW cars, oblivious to that, continue to do battle as the recovery vehicles arrive on the scene. I suspect we're going to see a safety car here. Hamish Brandon is who leads the way. Nonetheless, he has got Lawrence Davey right up behind him, and Davey looking to challenge here to take the lead as they sprint towards Camp Corner for the first time of asking. And then there's a little bit of a gap back to Henry Dupree in third place. Now the waved yellow flags. The safety car is out the race, gets neutralised, not really surprising. We've got two errant cars very close to the edge of the circuit. Or in fact, the red flag comes out now, the race being brought to a halt. And that is the reason why repair work required for the tyre wall at Quarry. The marshals at Castle Combe always do an excellent job. Today being no exception, we're about to go racing once more. And it's Patrick Mortimer then who leads the way from pole, all very congested behind, and it's Lawrence Davey who's been badly boxed in this time around. It's Neil Newstead, I think, who's going to make good the early running. Chris Knox biding his time. They sort themselves out. Luke Cordell's also made an absolutely electrifying start. He is up into second place, so it's Newstead from Cordell, then Henry Dupree, Patrick Mortimer, Kevin O'Connor, and the rest of them. The Cooper class runners swooping through, and Shane Stoney chasing down the early leader, William Page. He has got Matt Hammond and Gideon Cresswell also to concern himself with, as jinking through. The S's on towards Old Paddock. Chris Knox beginning to ease up through the field, and Knox is a very tactically astute driver. He's not going to take unnecessary risks in these early stages. He's seen what has happened earlier on. So Neil Newstead leads the way from Luke Cordell as they swoop through bobbies. Cordell looking to get himself right back onto the top step of the rostrum. They've got Henry Dupree and Lawrence Davey not too far back either as they arrive into the right-hander of Camp Corner. And Neil Newstead from Luke Cordell. Or is that going to be Cordell from Newstead, because Cordell's got the inside line for Folly and darts to the inside. Henry Dupree looking to challenge as well. Lawrence Davey up into fourth, then gap back to Chris Knox in fifth as Davey very late on the brakes into Quarry and loses it and slams into Neil Newstead. Newstead dispatched into the tyre wall. I suspect his race is over on the spot. And that was fairly hefty contact. I'm not convinced that Lawrence Davey is going to be able to keep going for much longer either. Luke Cordell is then who takes the lead from Henry Dupree and Chris Knox. Then the gap back to Patrick Mortimer, who's doing very well in fourth. He's got Hamish Brandon just tucked in behind him as they sprint on towards Tower. This is a golden opportunity for Luke Cordell, but Chris Knox has already eased his way up into second place. And really the narrative of this season has been the fact that Knox and Cordell are the pace setters. Don't have any more rounds to go either. So there is Neil Newstead. He is fine, at least in body. I suspect mind and spirit slightly less so. Really, there's very little that he could do about that one. So the safety car comes out as his car is recovered to the flatbed. Lawrence Davey also out of the race. A great shame to see those two very quick drivers eliminated. Recovery done, safety car retreats, hopefully for the last time, as we go racing once more at Castle Combe. And Luke Cordell has seen his advantage over Chris Knox whittled away to absolutely nothing. So now really the boot is on the other foot. This is exactly as we had in race one, just a reversal of order. Already you can see Chris Knox really challenging Luke Cordell, and Cordell heavily on the brakes into Quarry, covers the inside line this time around. The challenge here at Castle Combe, because we don't really have much in the way of long straights, is that if you can just stick to the racing line, you can make it very challenging for your rival to pick a way past. And you can see that Knox was speculating to the outside at the S's. No joy there. We go in car with Chris Knox. For all the spectacle outside, he looks very calm and composed at the wheel. He's got Henry Dupree as well challenging him from behind. Hamish Brandon trying to get himself up onto the rostrum as well. So out of Tower and sprint into Bobby's, the second of the chicanes. Very low line curves here at Castle. Really hammer them and then just plant your right foot, sprinting on towards Camp Corner. This leading quartet breaking well clear then of the rest of the field. Cordell not easing away from Chris Knox whatsoever. Knox firmly ensconced in his toe. Hamish Brandon also trying to take advantage of the slipstream given off from the cars in front. In the Cooper class, it's Shane Stoney who leads the way from Ricky Page, and then Matt Hammond and Gideon Cresswell engaged in a very enjoyable tussle. Final spot on the rostrum. Chris Williams showing strongly. Wherever you look, there is always racing going on. There is Jo Polly Golden. She is having certainly her best weekend of the season thus far, as she looks to engage in battle with William Phillips and Adrian Norman. It's Lever having a good race as well. Podium finisher, of course, in the Cooper class. He looks to try and pick his way up the order. Shane Stoney, though, really has been the man to beat all season long in the Cooper class this weekend at Castle Combe, proving to be absolutely no exception whatsoever to that. So the Cooper class sprinting on towards Tower. The race leader, Luke Cordell, sprints across the start and finish line, and Knox is appreciably close this time around through Folly. Already you can see Chris Knox looking to line up the move, possibly over Avon Rice. He jinks to the inside, goes alongside Cordell on the brakes into Quarry, and Luke Cordell braking very, very deeply. Knox gets the car slowed down as Cordell slithers wide, and Chris Knox darts through. Henry Dupree follows as well. They accelerate on towards the S's, and Luke Cordell, in the blink of an eye, goes from first to third and maybe even fourth if Hamish Brandon can sneak past. Well, Chris Knox did everything he needed to do. He forced Cordell to overcommit on the brakes into Quarry. What has Cordell got by way of response? In the Cooper class, Ricky Page certainly keeping Shane Stoney honest. But at the moment, there's nothing that he can do about overhauling Shane Stoney. Stoney pushing very, very hard. He looks well set to do the double at Castle Combe, as does Chris Knox. He makes it 2 wins from 2 races, just from Henry Dupree, with Luke Cordell consolidating third from Hamish Brandon. In the Cooper class, Shane Stoney well set as he accelerates out of Bobby's for the final time. He's got a 10 or so car length advantage over Ricky Page, and that is going to be nigh impossible for Page to close down between now and the checker flag. So across the line, and victory for Shane Stoney, second place for Ricky Page, and third in the Cooper class going the way of Gideon Cresswell. What a lively and dramatic race. So in the JCW class, Chris Knox wins it from Henry Dupree, and Luke Cordell, that top 3 separated by 1.5 seconds. Hamish Brandon, an excellent 4th. In the Cooper class then, Shane Stoney from Ricky Page, Gideon Cresswell overhauled Matt Hammond, with Simon Walton and William Phillips completing the top 6. So in terms of the championship, well, in the JCW class, it is Chris Knox who leads the way from Luke Cordell and Lawrence Davey. In the Cooper class, Shane Stoney dominates from Josh Gollin and Ricky Page. An excellent weekend of racing then at Castle Combe, and time to celebrate on the podium with the champagne and trophies, and also the Sunoco Driver of the Day Awards going to Chris Knox in the JCW class and Joe Polly-Goldin for the Cooper cars.
It's been a massive learning curve. Obviously this whole season's been a big learning curve for me. The only real difference this weekend's been that Lawrence sat in the car with me. It's the first chance we've had for someone else to actually sit in and sort of just give me a few pointers. So it made so much difference just knowing that little bit extra that I can get out of the car, and it's got me right up in sort of into the pack now, so really good.
Safety cars, red flags, restarts, and lots of action in race 2. Wow. But class leaders Shane Stoney and Chris Knox still managed to come out on top. What a great day of racing. And there's more to come, but not from here. That's it from Castle Combe. We'll be out at Silverstone next time round. But until then, don't forget you can keep up to date with all things Mini Challenge on our website, Facebook and Twitter. See you soon. Take care.